Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting smart on, well, topics that really matter. And today, we're diving into something that's definitely top of mind for a lot of people: AI job interviews. How do you actually nail them? Because, let's be honest, it's not your standard tech interview anymore, is it? These AI roles, they seem to demand something different. I actually remember hearing about a friend's first, major AI interview. Super smart, great coder. But then the interviewer just sort of casually asks, hey, can you walk me through a transformer model, like the architecture, why it works? And my friend just froze, completely blanked.
Ah, I've heard stories like that too.
Yeah. And it wasn't because they didn't know it deep down. It was the type of question, not code, not a definition. It was about, deep understanding, context,
Yeah,
communication.
exactly. That highlights the core difference perfectly.
It really showed how these conversations go way beyond just, whiteboarding code.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? How AI interviews really are a different beast compared to, say, a standard software engineering interview. It's not just a little tweak, it's a whole different way of assessing someone.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What really makes an AI interview different from, I don't know, a back-end developer interview? What are they actually trying to figure out?
Well, it boils down to this sort of comprehensive blend of skills. Yes, deep technical knowledge is absolutely key. You have to know the algorithms, the models, the math behind them, but it goes way beyond that. They're really probing your practical problem-solving skills. How do you take that knowledge and actually apply it to messy, real-world data, ambiguous problems? And maybe the most critical part that often gets overlooked is the non-technical stuff, your communication skills, how you make decisions when you don't have all the answers, how you work with others.
So it's more holistic then.
Totally. It's an assessment of your whole approach, from thinking up the idea to building it, deploying it, even tweaking it afterwards. They want to see if you not only can build the thing, but understand why you're building it. What's the impact?
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's less like a pop quiz on facts and more like a simulation of the actual job.
Precisely.
So knowing the kinds of questions they'll throw at you must be like step one for getting ready. What are the main types people should expect?
Yeah, definitely. Based on what we've seen and heard, you can sort of group them into three main buckets, three pillars, if you will. Knowing these is your roadmap. Okay, so pillar number one, technical knowledge questions. This is the foundation. They want to check your core theoretical understanding.
Like definitions and stuff?
Sort of, but deeper. So you won't just get define machine learning. It'll be more like, okay, explain the trade-offs between, say, a decision tree and a neural network. When would you definitely pick one over the other? What are the real pros and cons in different situations?
Ah, okay. So it's about judgment, not just recall.
Exactly. It shows you can think critically about which tool to use and why, not just spitting back facts. And another big one is model evaluation, knowing accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score, that's table stakes.
Right.
They want to know when you'd prioritize precision over recall. Like maybe in medical diagnosis, right? You really don't want false positives.
Makes sense.
Versus maybe a recommendation system where getting most of the relevant stuff, even with some misses, might be okay. And the F1 score often comes up because it balances the two,
Right.
It shows you get the context.
Got it. What else falls under technical?
Data preprocessing and feature engineering. Huge. Expect questions about handling missing values, not just how you'd fill them in, but why you'd choose one method over another, or when maybe you should just drop the data entirely. And things like categorical encoding, feature scaling. Do you understand why these steps matter for the model? It's all about that deeper understanding.
So it's the why and the when, not just the what's. Okay, I get that. What's the second pillar? This must be where they see you in action, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly right. Pillar 2 is practical and scenario-based questions, sometimes called EY in some contexts. This is where they test if you can actually do the work. Apply the knowledge. They might give you a hypothetical data set, maybe even a messy real one, and say, okay, design a model for this. Walk me through every step.
Wow. Okay. End to end?
Yeah, from getting the data, cleaning it, picking a model, training it, evaluating it, the whole 9 yards. They want to see how you think through the entire process. Or they might give you some existing code that's slow or buggy and ask you to debug it or optimize it. Find the bottleneck. Suggest improvement.
That sounds challenging.
It can be. Or they show you a model's results and ask, what's wrong here? How would you make this better? And they want concrete steps. The key thing here isn't always having the perfect answer instantly. It's showing your thought process. How do you tackle something fuzzy? What assumptions do you make? How do you iterate? That's what they're looking for. Resilience, adaptability.
Right. It really does sound like a window into what the day-to-day job is actually like. Okay, so the third type, this must be where those non-technical skills you mentioned come in.
Spot on. The third pillar, and honestly one that people sometimes forget to prep for, is behavioral questions. Or you nail. These are all about those crucial soft skills. Communication, leadership potential, how you handle pressure, how you make tough calls.
Like, tell me about a time when.
Exactly, those kinds of questions. Tell us about a time you found and fixed a major bottleneck in an AI project. It's not just about the technical fixie. It's about your initiative, how you analyze things, how you explain the problem and solution. Or how would you deal with a situation where you just don't have enough data, or the data you have is really biased?
Ooh, tricky one.
Yeah. They want to see how you think beyond the code. Are you creative? Do you think about ethics? What about data acquisition or augmentation? And sometimes it's about team stuff. Describe a time you had a conflict with a teammate about a technical approach. How did you handle it?
So cultural fit, too.
Absolutely. It's huge. How do you work in a team? Handle tricky conversations, function productively when things get complicated. It's about whether you'll be a good colleague and contributor.
Wow, okay. That's a really clear breakdown of the three types.
Yeah.
It's obvious now it's way broader than just coding skills.
Yeah.
So here's the big question then, right? Once you know these categories, how do you actually get ready? How do you effectively prepare? Because it sounds like you need a plan that covers all these different angles.
You absolutely do. It has to be multi-pronged.
Uh-huh.
So for the technical prep, yeah, hands-on practice is key. Can't avoid it. But you need the right kind of practice. Platforms like LeetCode, Kaggle, they're great for keeping your coding sharp, your problem-solving muscles flexed. But for AI, don't just stop at getting an answer. Think about optimizing it. What's the complexity? And crucially, practice talking through your thought process out loud.
Thinking out loud, huh?
Yeah. Explain why you made each decision. It feels weird at first, but it's vital for interviews. And beyond those abstract problems, get really comfortable with the standard AML toolkits. Pandas for data, scikit-learn for basic ML, PyTorch or TensorFlow for deep learning. Interviewers want to see you can actually use these tools, not just know of them. Know the common functions, the best practices. Avoid fumbling around.
Makes sense. Practical fluency.
Right. And here's a big one. Practice explaining complicated stuff like how gradient descent actually works in really simple terms. Use analogies. Your interviewer might not be technical, or they might be super senior, and just want to see if you can communicate clearly. If you can explain it simply, you truly get it.
That's such a good point. Simple explanations are hard, but show real understanding. Okay, so that's the tech side. What about prepping for those practical scenario-based questions?
Okay, for practical simulation, mock interviews are gold. Your secret weapon. Don't just practice coding problems alone. Find friends, mentors, people in online communities. Get them to give you vague problems, push back, ask follow-ups.
Simulate the pressure.
Exactly. And get comfortable with that back and forth, the ambiguity. And another really good tip, practice explaining your own past projects under a time limit, like 5 minutes flat.
5 minutes, that's tight.
It is, but it forces you to nail the key points. What problem did it solve? What tech did you use and why? What challenges popped up? What were the results, ideally with numbers? Being able to summarize quickly and clearly under pressure is huge.
I can see how that would really sharpen your communication. Okay, and then the behavioral questions. The STAR method is usually mentioned here, right?
Yes, for behavioral prep, the STAR method, situation, task, action, result, is absolutely your best friend. Use it to structure your answers, makes them clear, compelling.
So you describe the situation.
Right. What was the context? Then the task. What needed to be done? Then the action. What did you specifically do? And critically, the result. What was the outcome? What was the impact? Don't just list what you did, explain why it mattered. And don't just memorize answers. Think about maybe 3 or 4 solid project stories from your experience. Pick ones that show different skills, problem solving, teamwork, maybe handling a failure. Make sure those stories have specifics, technical details, real challenges you faced, and, if possible, quantifiable results, data points. That shows the impact of your work. They want the story, the journey, the learning.
That's a really solid prep strategy. Covers all the bases. But what about when you get stuck? Like you get asked something totally unexpected or you just draw a blank? Happens to everyone, right? How do you handle that moment?
Oh, absolutely vital question. Because it will happen. No one knows everything. The first thing is mindset. Try to shift your perspective.
Cool.
View the interview less like an exam, more like a conversation, a two-way street. You're evaluating them too, right? Their team, their problems, their culture. Does it feel like a good fit for you? Taking some of that pressure off yourself helps a lot.
Okay. So less interrogation, more exploration.
Exactly. Now, when you genuinely don't know an answer, honesty is almost always the best policy. Trying to bluff, it usually backfires, and they can often tell. And this is the key, don't just stop at, I don't know, follow it up immediately. Say something like, that's interesting. I haven't worked directly with that specific technique, but if I needed to figure it out, my first step would be...
Show your process for learning it.
Precisely. Outline how you'd research it, maybe mention adding it to your things to learn list. It shows you're honest, humble, curious, and proactive about learning. Those are huge positives in AI. And actually, a cool way to practice this thinking on your feet skill is using AI tools like ChatGPT.
Using AI to prep for an AI interview. Meta.
Yeah. But don't use it to get answers to memorize. Use it to simulate the Q&A. Throw tough questions at it, and practice articulating your thought process in real time, even if you're unsure. It builds that mental agility, that ability to respond coherently under pressure.
That's a really clever, modern way to practice. Can you give us an example or two, maybe from the sources, where this kind of approach, honesty plus a plan, really worked well for someone?
Yeah, definitely. There was one great example with a scenario question. Interviewer gives a data set, but it's got big chunks of missing data. Obvious gaps.
Okay.
The candidate didn't just ignore it. They paused, pointed it out, and then started brainstorming why it might be missing. Was it random? Systematic? Then they talk through different ways to handle it, imputation methods, pros and cons of each, maybe finding external data. And importantly, they discuss the risks, the potential biases introduced by each approach. The interviewer later said that structured problem solving, facing the messy reality, was way more impressive than just trying to rush to a flawed answer, showed real-world readiness.
So they tackled the uncertainty head-on.
Exactly. Another one involved a question about some brand new, bleeding-edge tech. Candidate hadn't used it.
Oof, awkward moment.
Could have been, but they just said, honestly, haven't had hands-on time with that yet. But then immediately, if I needed to get up to speed, here's exactly what I'd do. Read the docs, find examples, run them, debug them, test on small data first.
Laid out a clear learning plan.
Yeah. And the interviewer specifically said that honesty, combined with that clear, proactive plan, was actually better than if they'd pretended to know it. Showed adaptability, learning agility, essential AI traits.
Those examples really drive it home, don't they? It's often less about having the perfect answer instantly and more about how you approach the problem, especially the unknown parts. So wrapping this all up, what's the absolute core insight, the main takeaway for our listener trying to navigate these AI interviews?
I think if you boil it all down, the biggest thing is this. AI interviews aren't just testing what you know. They're not just a checklist of algorithms. Fundamentally, they're assessing how you solve problems, how you think critically, how you adapt when things are unclear or difficult. It's about how you think, how you break down complexity, how you communicate your reasoning, even when you're not 100% sure. Your process, your mindset, your ability to learn, that's often just as, if not more, important than having a perfect answer ready to go. They want someone who can handle the inherent uncertainty in AI development.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. It's about showing you can navigate the unknown, which is pretty much the definition of working in AI, right?
Shouldn't have said it better myself.
So practical advice, though. What's one thing someone listening could do today?
Okay, if you've got an AI interview coming up, or even just thinking about it, pick one thing from our chat. Maybe practice explaining a technical concept simply. Or take one of your projects and try explaining it using the STAR method. Or even just run through a scenario question out loud. Just pick one small thing and practice it today. Building that confidence and clarity bit by bit makes a huge difference.
Fantastic advice. Start small, build momentum. And speaking of making complex things clear, next time on the deep dive, we're tackling fine-tuning. It's a super important AI concept.
Oh, yeah, crucial.
And we promise we've got this great cat analogy lined up that's going to make it totally click. It's part of our ongoing Dr. AI series.
Looking forward to that work.
Me too. So huge thanks for joining us on this deep dive today. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on future insights. We'll catch you next time.